Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're digging into a pricing thing you hear about a lot, especially maybe with smaller businesses.
Yeah.
Keystone markup.
Yeah, Keystone. It sounds solid, right? Like the cornerstone of pricing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we've got some material here looking at what it actually is, where it pops up, but also maybe why just defaulting to it isn't always the best plan for your business,
hmm
or even just for understanding like how pricing works.
Right. So at its core, Keystone Markup is, well, incredibly simple.
Like super simple.
Pretty much. You take the cost of your product, double it, and that's your selling price.
Okay, so if something costs you, say, $10 to get,
You sell it for 20. That's Keystone.
you can definitely see the appeal there.
Yeah.
Especially if you're juggling a million things starting a business. It's quick.
It is quick. It gives you a number fast, helps estimate things.
Yeah.
Seems like it guarantees profit.
Yeah, that 2 times cost, good to go idea
Yeah.
sounds almost foolproof for just getting a price out there.
Yeah.
But the stuff we read suggests that simplicity might actually, cover up some problems if you just use it everywhere without thinking.
That's the main issue, yeah. One of the biggest risks is, well, you might just price yourself too high.
Ah, right. Especially if it's crowded out there.
Exactly. In competitive markets, if everyone else is selling similar stuff for less because maybe their costs are different or they use a different strategy,
Yeah.
that doubled price could just, push customers away.
People shop around. Price matters a lot.
It really does. And it's not just about what the competition's doing either.
Oh, what else? Because the source material mentioned internal stuff too.
Yes, absolutely critical. That simple doubling,
Yeah.
it often just skips over a whole bunch of real costs.
Like what kind of costs are we talking
Well,
about?
think about marketing, right? You got to spend money to get customers in the door or clicking online.
Okay, yeah. Ads, social media, whatever.
Then there's the labor involved in actually selling the product, your staff's time, commissions perhaps,
Right. And just keeping the lights on. Rent,
yeah,
utilities.
all that general overhead. These costs, especially the ones that change depending on how much you sell, the variable costs they can eat into that margin pretty quickly, even if doubling the cost sounds like a big markup.
So you might think you have 50% gross margin,
Mm.
but after everything else, it's much less.
Could be much less, yeah. Or even vanish entirely in some cases.
Okay, so if just doubling isn't the magic bullet, what should businesses be focusing on when they set prices? What is the material point?
Well, it really drills down on a few key areas. First up, and this is non-negotiable really, is understanding your total costs.
Total, so not just the price tag from the supplier.
Not at all. You need your fixed costs, rent, salaries, the stuff that stays mostly the same, and those variable costs we talked about, materials, shipping, marketing spend per sale, maybe. You need the whole picture.
Makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Can't price for profit if you don't know what it truly costs you to be in business. What's next?
Market research, really digging in.
What are people willing to pay?
Exactly. What's the perceived value? What are competitors actually charging for similar things? Finding that sweet spot where you're competitive but still profitable, that takes homework.
And thinking about how customers see your product, right? Is it premium? Budget.
Yeah.
Does that affect the price they'll accept?
Hugely. That perceived value is massive. Are you selling a basic necessity or a luxury item? The price expectation is totally different.
Okay, so Keystone.
Mm.
Maybe it's like step 0, first guess.
Kind of, yeah. The sources sort of position it as a potential starting point for a really rough initial estimate, but that's all it is.
Not the final answer.
Definitely not. You absolutely have to tweak it, adjust it based on that cost analysis, the market research, the value perception. It requires refinement.
It's not set and forget.
Not if you want to thrive, no.
And did the material suggest other ways, more, I don't know, sophisticated methods?
It touched on a couple, yeah, alternatives to consider, like value-based pricing.
That's pricing based on what the customer thinks it's worth.
Correct. Less about your cost, more about their perceived benefit. Then there's cost plus pricing.
How's that different from Keystone? Isn't Keystone sort of cost plus 100%?
It is, technically, but cost plus is usually more nuanced. You calculate your total costs, fixed and variable allocated per unit, and then add a specific desired profit margin percentage on top.
Ah, okay. So if your total cost per item, all in, is $15 and you want, say, a 20% margin.
You'd calculate 20% of $15, which is $3, and add it. So you'd price it at $18, not $30 like Keystone would suggest. It's tied more closely to your actual total expenses and desired profit.
Got it. So wrapping this up, the big message seems to be Keystone is simple, maybe too simple.
That's a good way to put it. Its simplicity is its appeal, but also its biggest weakness. It ignores too many crucial factors.
And real success in pricing comes from a much deeper understanding. Your cost, your market, your customer's view of value. It's more complex.
It really is. Moving beyond just doubling and looking at the whole economic picture of your specific situation.
Really interesting. It makes you think. Considering how these different pricing choices affect how we see a product's value and how they impact a business's health, what hidden costs or maybe even unexpected benefits might a simple approach like Keystone Markup actually be masking? Something to chew on. Thanks for breaking that down.
My pleasure. Lots to consider there.